Good afternoon, you're very welcome along to World Cup Daily, and we've been sitting here every single afternoon telling you that this World Cup just gets better and better and better, and this afternoon is no different whatsoever. Just when we thought it couldn't get any better, Japan come along and almost shocked the world, going 2-0 up against Belgium, and then Belgium shocked the world by coming back from 2 goals down to beat Japan on a 3-2 scoreline. It was an unbelievable evening. It contributes to an unbelievable World Cup, and when you throw in Neymar's histrionics yesterday with 2 games, we've got 2 massive talking points, and England in action today, so there is plenty to talk about over the next 40 minutes or so. You can comment on the stream or tweet us at Off The Ball if you've got any comments at all, anything you want to get off your chest. We'll read them out throughout the next 40 minutes. Phil Egan is back in studio this afternoon. How are things?
All good, yeah. What a game.
It was unbelievable. Have we been desensitized now to the point where a great game is like, yeah, not a great game, fine. I'd almost be more enthralled by a 0-all at this point. These games are so good.
Well, you might get that today, by the way. But yeah, just Japan and Belgium proving once again 2-0. It's a dangerous lead.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's a dangerous lead when you're Japan, and it's a dangerous lead when you're up against Belgium.
Yeah, absolutely. And what struck me watching it was Fellaini comes on, and one of the first things he does to his teammates, points at his head. Now, he's not saying, lads, we need to keep the head. He's saying, get it up there. That's where we want it. And how Spain could have done with a Fellaini against Russia the other day. You know, it's not pretty, but it's effective.
It's true, yeah. We were talking about that on OTBAM this morning. Not even the specific example of Fellaini, but the example of having a second option, just doing something.
Plan B.
Exactly, a plan B. That's what he personifies. That's why Jose Mourinho keeps him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Jose Mourinho is in Russia, working for Russia today. I'm sure he had a bit of a chuckle when Fellaini pretty much changed the game. I know Vertonghen had got them back into it, but what Fellaini gives you is Japan want to sit in, but then you invite crosses into the box, and that is a killer when you've got Fellaini and obviously Lukaku. They've got some good height in that Belgium team as well. And now we have the prospect of Fellaini. He could get his hands on Neymar.
That would be sensational.
Who would like to see Neymar be flattened by Fellaini, a Fellaini elbow?
That's what we want. And we've got to boy crying wolf stage where the referee's like, did you really violently just almost behead Neymar? No, you didn't. That's just Neymar rolling around again.
That's what it's gone. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to get butchered down, and the ref will just go, play on, you're all right. Now, there is VAR, but there's not much sympathy out there for Neymar.
No. Would Leon have got sent off yesterday, do you feel, if Neymar hadn't rolled around 100 times?
Possibly, but like, I was watching the game with my niece, who's really got into the World Cup, and already I see that her dad has kind of taught her very well that if you're rolling around, you're not that hurt. Because if you're in real pain, you wouldn't be able to move like that.
Yeah, Neymar, the conduit for parenting all around the world, it seems.
Exactly. And I was just saying that, watching games, like the play acting, it is embarrassing though. I mean, if Neymar was to watch that back, imagine you brought Neymar in here and we just went through all his highlights and said, talk us through this now. What's going on? Now, what were you thinking here? Were you really hurt, or were you thinking, I'll add in another 4 rolls, maybe this might get the player sent off?
Does he really think that there is a competitive outcome that would be positive for his team in any of this? At this point, I can see why you would initially do it, but after a while, is there a period of self-analysis, I wonder?
I don't know, like there is some hefty tackles going in on him, and maybe this goes back to what happened to him in Brazil 4 years ago, where he got taken out of a World Cup. Maybe he thinks, do you know what, I have to really kind of overemphasize the contact that has gone on here because I wasn't protected 4 years ago, so this is how I'm going to do it. But what struck me when Firmino scored, what was the clincher yesterday, all the players ran towards Neymar. Yeah,
it's true. It's almost, you would say that it's going to affect him competitively because the sort of magnetisation towards Neymar at every point, and we did see that in the Switzerland game, but I think in game 2, 3 and 4 we've seen a different Brazil where they're willing to mix it around a little bit. Neymar's passing the ball a lot more.
Yeah, he's definitely not as selfish as he was and indulgent. So, but they still obviously see him as their go-to man. The fact that they all ran over. Now, maybe they don't like Firmino, I don't know. But I certainly think he'd be worth starting in games.
Fellaini, would you start him the next day?
No, I think you unleash Fellaini. That's what you do. You see how it's going. Like, the one thing Mexico did very well in the first 25 minutes, they got a lot of crosses in. Now, obviously, if Fellaini is there, that's a great target man, but I think he'd be held in reserve.
Especially when you potentially think about the impact that Lukaku can have on his own, it's worth it. To me, it kind of seems that you put Lukaku in there to kind of test the waters a little bit and throw in a few high balls, and if he's getting a bit of joy on his own, you don't need that extra man in there. And it's when you go a goal or two down, that's when they have to bring in Fellaini. He just defines everything that a plan B is supposed to be.
Yeah, he just strikes fear into defenders because he's so tall, and not only he's so good in the air. There's one thing being able to get your head on the ball, but we've seen it with United. I think back to even the most recent season, that great header he got to beat Arsenal at Old Trafford. Even his header last night was brilliant. Lukaku missed a really good header. He had a really good chance.
Wasn't it?
Absolutely. I thought he was quite poor last night. Probably the best thing he did was the dummy.
Yeah.
Not touching the ball actually worked in his favour.
Which puts a lot more praise on it, given how crap he was before that and given the time of the game it was.
No assist, by the way. You don't get an assist for a dummy.
You should.
You should do.
You should be given at least half an assist.
The ball across from Meunier, that's the one that goes down as the assist. But actually, Lukaku, not only did he dummy, but the run that he made to make the space as well was very good. So, it wasn't his most potent night in front of goal. I kind of thought Japan would be a game there where Lukaku could add on another couple of goals. Say Harry Kane was rubbing his hands thinking, this is my chance now tonight to open up a bit of a gap in this golden boot race.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. We'll get to that with John Duggan in a little while. Just on Kevin De Bruyne last night, it seems that we're way too far beyond the point where we can actually view Kevin De Bruyne in his Manchester City position. He's not going to be played there now.
No, absolutely not. And this is something I know when we had Kevin on earlier in last week, we talked about De Bruyne being too deep. And he just looks really frustrated. But you saw the best of him for the winning goal, when he has that space in front of him and he just drives towards and he picks the right ball. But he looked frustrated. Himself and Hazard, I think, at one stage they were bickering at each other. Hazard's the captain and it's all revolves around him, whereas De Bruyne at City is used to being the main man, well, one of the main men anyway, and he has criticised their tactics in the past. They played Mexico in a friendly where he actually said in a post-match interview they were better than us tactically. And that's, for somebody to say that, he had a clear cut at Roberto Martinez. Now, we were all pretty worried about Roberto Martinez tactically, and I think that's where he'll get found out against Brazil. This system that he plays, the wing backs in particular, there's going to be a lot of space there.
I wonder, are we worried about, or should we be worried about Roberto Martinez on the level that we were worried about Jorge Sampaoli? That, not to the extent where it's Sampaoli versus the camp, but that there may be a division within the camp. This is complete speculation. But looking at the way Courtois reacted last night going to celebrate with Martinez, I would have been surprised to see any sort of I would have been surprised to see Lukaku do that. I would have been surprised to see De Bruyne, Hazard. They seem to be the people, as you say, who've come out in the press, who've criticised how they've been playing tactically. And maybe it's all cleaned up now and there's no real evidence of animosity there. They all seemed happy-go-lucky afterwards, but maybe underlying that all, there might be something a little bit deeper. It's just speculation, it's just a thought.
Yeah, I think one thing about Roberto Martinez, he's a likeable person. He's, I can't imagine... I don't know what his team talks would be like, but I would say the players like him as a person, but maybe they just think tactically, he's not really up to it when it comes to trying to win a World Cup. But my feeling towards this Belgium team is the golden generation thing to me is just, it's like England years ago. This is now just a new version. Belgium are now being painted with the golden generation. Sure, they've got some great individuals, but they certainly don't have the cohesion that other teams have. So I never really saw them as a realistic winner of the World Cup, even as open as it is now with all some of the more traditional teams dropping out. I can't really see how they're going to beat Brazil. Yeah, you look at the golden generations. Are Belgium and France the only two golden generations in the tournament? Yeah, well, England are building. England aren't a golden. They will be.
eventually we got to live with that fact eventually that team that won the underage World Cup there last year is going to come. So you're talking about Qatar, or you're talking about the United, or the United States, Canada, Mexico World Cup as England's golden generation once again. But for this World Cup, you can't really consider Brazil a golden generation. They're just golden all the time.
Yeah.
But France and Belgium, there can only be one winner. There can only be one golden generation, and maybe none of those golden generations that actually lift a trophy at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, it's just something that we see. Golden generation, you think it just adds to the pressure.
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine the pressure Roberto Martinez is under, knowing this is, okay, you had some good Belgium teams in the 80s, the 86 World Cup, they were very good. But this team, this is the most talented set of individuals they've had. There's so much pressure. This is their chance. And I just think they're going to blow it. I was watching when they were 2-0 down, and I didn't think they were going to win it, but I didn't think Japan would be the team knocking them out. Fair play to them, they turned it around. It might galvanise them, but realistically what will happen is they'll just be exposed again and they won't be able to get back against a better team.
Do you subscribe to the idea that Japan made it balls of it for the winner for Belgium last night?
I think I kind of like the fact that they probably realise we need to go for it, because I think if it went to extra time, they were in trouble. I think if they went to extra time, Belgium had the run on them, and just maybe Japan said, let's try and win it now. You have to give credit to Belgium for not only Courtois getting the ball. Some goalkeepers would have just decided, right, let's just slow it down, we'll go to extra time, we'll beat them. But he saw an opportunity, and once De Bruyne raced away, you knew that Japan were in trouble. I wouldn't be overly critical of Honda though for the corner. It's not quite as bad as David Ginola for France, that when they missed out in the 94 World Cup under Gerard Houllier. It's not quite that bad. I think there was a bit of an overreaction. I mean, it was brilliant. Not many people gave Japan a chance going into the game, but it was really refreshing just to see the way they played, and then just how clinical they were.
Yeah, the 2 goals were sensational.
Absolutely.
They also did this after the game. They cleaned up their dressing room. This was a picture posted by somebody from FIFA afterwards. This is before the cleaners got there. Spick and span saying thank you in Russian there on the table as well. Their fans were cleaning up the stadium afterwards, and it's all well and good. It's a very polite thing to do, and it shows very, very good character. I don't think we should be sitting back and saying, wow, look at these amazing people who are doing great humanitarian work and saving the planet. There were staff who would have cleaned up the stadium anyway. It's not like the Irish fans. They're not as good as the Irish fans who were in... Where was it? Was it everywhere? Yeah, everywhere. But that was outside the stadium, and Irish fans were drinking and cleaning up their cans and putting them into bags. And
Paris as well. I remember where we used to congregate in Paris up around... there was a few Irish bars up near where the Moulin Rouge was. And I can remember actually after the Sweden game, it was like a festival. And you were walking along, it was just... a lot of cans on the ground. You couldn't really see the ground, but yeah, people started cleaning up.
There you go. That's it. There wouldn't have been any cleaners employed to clean those cans up.
No, because we know the French, they do like a strike.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. There's been more bad news for Japan, and I regret to inform you that you will know this octopus that you and I may have come to appreciate during the World Cup, the Japanese octopus who chose so successfully the winners of teams, chose Japan there in a match during the group stages, I think, which they ended up winning. And unfortunately, I regret to inform you that this octopus is now dead. It died and is hanging up, and it was sold brutally. Basically the most brutal World Cup 2018 story we've had is that one of the celebrities of the World Cup has been killed and sold on.
Before the tournament even finished.
Before the tournament even finished.
Somebody put the octopus ahead of the team.
Yeah, somebody put the octopus ahead of the team. Never put the individual ahead of the team, Phil. And the other heartbreaking animal story we have to bring you is the Chinese cat who predicted so successfully a lot of the results. A stray cat living at Beijing's Palace Museum died on Monday after becoming an online sensation for making 6 successful predictions at this year's World Cup. Sad for this little one, says the Shanghai Eye, and we're sad for that little one as well. Time to go to Moscow. John Duggan, you can't appreciate it, but all the viewers can see a brand new sting made by Darren Cleary, our producer there. A lot more images. You've given us a goldmine of stuff to put into the credits roll. So just be happy in the knowledge that your team song is very, very slick every afternoon you're on with us here on World Cup Daily.
Darren Cleary, good work. Like to see that, Darren. Well done.
How's life? You're heading off to England, Colombia this evening, John. It's in the Spartak Stadium.
Yes, good afternoon, Eoin and Phil, and yeah, can't wait for it. I love the Spartak Stadium, been there for Argentina, Iceland, Poland, Senegal and Brazil, Serbia. Love that stadium, really compact, 44,000 fans, right outside a metro station. More Colombian fans than English here. Not surprising given the way the tournament was sold beforehand, incorrectly in my view. And also the visa issues, the fact that South American teams can get in here without visas and the Europeans need visas. So, but I'd say if England qualify for the last eight, there'll be a lot more England fans coming into Moscow and also trying to get to Samara, because that's where they'll be playing if they do qualify on Saturday. But knockout stage-wise, England since 1990, the Pavarotti World Cup in Italy, they've only won 2 matches, Denmark in 2002 and Ecuador in 2006. It's a sorry record. And that's why I think there's a lot of hope and a bit of hype. But that's why it's been so nice so far, because England are coming off some wretched tournaments.
Yeah, it does, though, change the way Gareth Southgate approaches this, though, doesn't it? Because there's no fear of falling into the same trap as Roy Hodgson and co fell into when they were caught celebrating Iceland beating Austria in Euro 2016 and then thinking about England versus France once they got Iceland out of the way. Having this terrible World Cup knockout record in the last 28 years can be used as a crutch for Gareth Southgate in the media, but also to his players, I presume, in the dressing room this evening.
Yes, but also look at the draw. Colombia, yeah. Sweden, Switzerland, Croatia or Russia. You know, if they were on the other side of the draw, you go, okay, they're playing Belgium tonight, they're playing Brazil tonight. They've done well. They've won the under-17, they've won the under-20. It's the third youngest squad. Harry Kane scoring goals. We could build towards the Wembley final at Euro 2020, possibly. But I think people realise that England, if they can get into a rhythm with that high press and play on the front foot as they did in those, obviously they're playing 2 weak enough teams in Panama and Tunisia, that they've got a chance tonight, especially with James not fully fit. And that's why I think there's a little bit more hype than hope than we would, in line with, as you say, where they really are in the world football, which is definitely outside the top 8 of world football.
The beauty of it, John, is we're going to find out tonight how good England are, because Panama were useless. Tunisia, they made hard work of. The worry for Gareth Southgate, though, is he's got this 3 at the back system. They've conceded goals in all their games so far. And we know Colombia, a lot depends obviously on if James Rodriguez plays and if he does play, how fit he is. But Colombia will fancy their chances against this back 3.
Yes, and even if James doesn't play, you'll have Muriel on the left, Luis Muriel of Sevilla. You'll have Juan Quintero in the middle, who's had an interesting career at Porto. He's been loaned out everywhere. He's at River Plate at the moment, and he's only 25, and he's had some issues, but he's shown some form recently. He's a very small player, but obviously very technically gifted. And then you'll have Juan Cuadrado, who I think started only 4 Premier League games at his time at Chelsea. So he's a point to prove. Juan Cuadrado, who's obviously a much better fortune for himself at Juventus recently and scored earlier on in the tournament. And they're all behind Falcao, who, I mean, if anybody's got motivation after that cruciate injury, and I think he only scored 5 goals in the Premier League in 2 years with Man United and Chelsea, it's Falcao. Got the haircut. First World Cup finals, remember? You know, it's hard to believe, but he was injured for the last one, and this is a chance. This is a chance to turn the likes of Harry Maguire, to turn the likes of Kyle Walker, and to get some change. And I remember even watching Batshuayi running at John Stones, and I didn't like the look of it in that B match the other day. So yeah, I feel that's why Jordan Henderson's role is so crucial tonight. Jordan Henderson and the wing back, so they've got a big role to play. And Jordan Henderson might want to play the game of his life tonight.
It's funny just reading Gareth Southgate's quotes going into the game. He's talking about the team. I feel that the team is connected with the public again. So, you know, everything is great, everything is rosy in the garden, but we know, like, and we've seen some of the papers in the UK the morning of the game, but I dread to think what those papers will be saying tomorrow if they don't get the job done because of the draw. They'll know by the time they kick off tonight at 7 Irish time who they'll be playing, whether it's Sweden or it's Switzerland. So if they blow it tonight, that connection, it's just going to be pulled again.
But all they can do is their best, and if they play well, people know, the tabloids are baked in the cake now in terms of the way they've acted for the last 30, 40 years. Bobby Robson was treated disgracefully by the tabloids before 1990, and they reached the semi-final and should have won that semi-final against Germany, hit the post in extra time. So it's baked in the cake, I think, now, and that's just the way they are. Look at the Sun today. The front page of the Sun is lowest common denominator stuff, which is a shame because there's so many good people working at the Sun, and also good people working in English football. That's the problem, I think, with the Premier League. The Premier League is the global league. It is the dominant league. It is the world league. It is the league when you wake up in Thailand on your holidays or in the United States on your holidays, you want to see the Premier League game at whatever crazy time it's on. And because England invented football, I think that was it Carlos Sanchez said that in one of the press conferences in the last couple of days. That's why I think the expectation is all automatically there, and I think culturally it's always there. And they can't help themselves in ways. But like with the BBC stuff they did a few weeks ago, and a lot of people, and there's a huge interest. It is the national sport over there. We've got Gaelic games, we've got rugby, a really strong rugby team at the moment in Ireland. You've 18 million people, more people watching a football match in a group stage of a World Cup than a royal wedding. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big seismic impact in a country. So you can understand it to a degree. Sometimes it can be a hindrance. But if they do, it is really, there is no grey area for England tonight. If they go out, they go out, and Southgate will be pilloried. And if they qualify, then God knows what's going to happen over the next few days in terms of coverage ahead of the. Yeah, it'll be that's what they play. They play that in the stadiums. I know. Yeah. For anybody who hasn't seen this broadcast before, every time they score, they play the Lightning Seeds. Football's coming home. They do it before the game on the big screen like karaoke. So it's like people are singing along with the words on the big screen. It's bizarre. And I don't know if Colombia have an equivalent song. Although it's a funny stat that I heard that in Colombia, they played the national anthem on the radio at 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night on one of the radio stations. So that's an interesting little stat for you.
I was going to say that'd only be made more embarrassing if it was just a singular bell playing monotonously for a full 60 seconds twice a day. John, you're going to stay with us on the line for the next few moments. We're going to get Leon Blanche of Boylesports in. To take us there, here is Tim Vickery, the BBC, speaking to Joe on last night's show about Colombia, England.
As you know, England have masterminded the right side of the draw. They're pretty much dancing their way to a World Cup final. Plucky old Colombia tomorrow. Tim, stand in the way. What are Colombia going to throw at them tomorrow?
Well, I think so much depends on whether James Rodriguez is fit and ready to play. And he may play, but he may not be fit as he was. He played the first 30 minutes against Senegal, but he was an absolute passenger. With James, I make Colombia, if he's fit, which I'm inclined to doubt, I make Colombia narrow favourites because then they've got a front four. It's a front four that can punish England's back three. Falcao, if he's high up the pitch and has service, Falcao will find holes in the England back three and he'll pick up the rebounds that come from the goalkeeper. A Cuadrado, if you can bring him in the game behind England, either Ashley Young or Danny Rose, Cuadrado can cause problems. And then you've got Quintero and James together to make the ball fizz. The two of them together are a great partnership. The one time that we had the two of them together was against Poland, and that was Colombia's best performance since the last World Cup. If James isn't fit, then it's far, far easier for England to force Colombia back into their half. If you do that, Falcao isolated doesn't really offer anything. If you can keep Cuadrado back, then Colombia, they have these few players who can really hurt you with the ball, but plenty of players who can't. So keep them back, watch them on the set pieces, because that giant centre-back, Yerry Mina, is a real threat from set pieces. It would be interesting to see the set piece specialists undone from a set piece tomorrow if Yerry Mina can get a run at a header. But if they can be forced back, England can win the game.
Tim Vickery there speaking to Joe on last night's Off the Ball. You're watching World Cup Daily with thanks to Boylesports, and Leon Blanche of Boylesports joins us now in studio. Leon, we were just chatting off air there, the centrality of James Rodriguez to the entire outcome of tonight. What would you do if you were the manager of Colombia?
Well, I mean, look, only the manager of Colombia and the player know exactly how fit he is. Do you risk him from the start? as Phil was just saying, that you could maybe take him off, or do you bring him on and give your team a boost? I don't know. It's a really, really tough call. I mean, when they played the four of them against Poland, they were electric, and they really all seemed to know where everybody was going. It's a tough one. I feel.
When you said it for them, you mean Falcao, Quintero, Cuadrado
and James.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. They were just, and I can see them causing England back three or back five, whatever way you want to call it. I can see them causing England terrible problems, and I feel he's going to start. I feel that when they go out on the pitch tonight, you'll want to have everyone playing that you feel can damage, and even if he gives you 45 minutes. He could do enough in 45 minutes to make a big difference. Colombia are a huge price at 11-4. I mean, England are 6-5. They haven't played anybody. Maybe you can say England will be fresher because they rested a lot of players against Belgium. Colombia played their first game with 10 men. Then they beat Poland, then they beat Senegal. But I feel Colombia are coming into this game full of confidence. And they've won their last two games when they needed to win them. They had to get 6 points, and they delivered. I think 11-8 for Colombia to qualify is a great bet. I think Colombia are going to cause England plenty of problems. I know Jordan Henderson is going to have a big game to try and protect that back three. I think Harry Maguire is so exposed. A bit of pace running at him, and he does not know what to do. And Cuadrado, as John, I just heard the end of John's piece, Cuadrado and Falcao have got points to prove against England because of their times at Tunisia with his late winner. He's their goal scorer, and I think he's their main man.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if they get a penalty tonight, and obviously Harry Kane takes them. My worry for Colombia is if James does start and he comes off, a bit like when Salah came off in the Champions League final. I think there was a real deflated feeling around the stadium that night because Liverpool fans realised, we're kind of screwed now that Salah is gone. And I wonder, would it have the same feeling with James Rodriguez? If this game goes into extra time, he's not going to last that long. So I don't know, do you keep him on the bench and just try and keep it tight and frustrate England? Because I think England's best chance is to blitz them in the first 20 minutes and get a goal or two. Then they'll be able to play on the counter-attack. They do concede goals, England, but they'll still fancy their chances of scoring on the break as well. And, David Ospina, we see how many mistakes does he make with Arsenal. Set pieces could be crucial for England.
He's been good this World Cup though, right?
He's been okay. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't made a glaring mistake where, as you rightly said, he's done that plenty of times before with Arsenal. But Colombia are dangerous at set pieces too. Mina scored 2 goals already, and he's a serious threat. And I think that's, again, Rodriguez, his delivery. But, I mean, Muriel's not bad, but he's not Rodriguez. So I think a lot does depend on how fit he is. But I think both teams will score. And I think at 6-5, that's a decent price. No is the favourite at 8-13. I'd be surprised if both of these sides can't score tonight. I think they're both capable. I'm still not convinced with Pickford in goal for England. I thought he was terrible for Januzaj's goal. What keeper comes across himself like that instead of using his right hand, which would have given him a lot more...
a keeper trying to get the easy side of the draw, that's what.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But I just think he's not the real deal yet. He's only a young kid. I'm not saying he'll never be the real deal, but I think he's young enough. And this is all the pressure is on England because their media, we've all seen the papers today. We've all seen that they're already plotting their route through to the final. Now, if you didn't look at Belgium last night against Japan, if you didn't look at Russia against Spain, if you didn't look at some of the lesser nations putting it up to the big sides, that should give them a wake-up call. And maybe it's not within their camp, and maybe it is just the media. And I think Gareth Southgate has kept the players and the expectations fairly level. I think he's done a great job off the field. Tonight he's got to do it on the field.
John, those 11-4 odds with Boylesports seem outrageously large for Colombia. Like we obviously know that the markets over here are going to favour England a little bit more. They're closer to home. There's a bit more money going on them. But Colombia aren't 11-4 outsiders for this, are they?
That's Boylesports generosity. That's what we're seeing there. There is. That's what I said the other day. France were bigger odds than England to win the tournament, which is just madness. That is the dominance of obviously a betting industry, which is mainly based in the United Kingdom and obviously Ireland as well. You can't, as I said, get the Boylesports app in Moscow, and otherwise I'd be making millions here. I'd have to be bringing it back. I'd have to be declaring it, going through the Red Channel labs on the way back with my Ushankas. I'm in agreement with Phil here on the best form of attack for England is attack. That's their best form of defence, is what I mean here. In that, Ali, Lingard, Harry Kane, these are good players. These are very good players, and they have to just try and get ahead early on. I think that Ospina, the more the pressure comes on, he struggled in the later qualifiers. He struggled against Paraguay. He struggled against Peru. He struggled in a friendly against France earlier this year. He started 9 games in 3 seasons for Arsenal. Kieran Trippier is 20-1. He's had a great tournament so far. A pot shot from Kieran Trippier at 20-1 might be worth a fiver. I'm just throwing that one out there, or even a shot from anybody. With Ciaran Trippier, who's had an excellent tournament so far. So I think they should test Ospina with shots. I really do think they should test. And for all the talk about the danger of the front fours were for Colombia, well, what about the other way? What about England's attacking players, Sterling, Kane, Lingard, Ali? What about them against the Colombian defence? With Sanchez and Mina have not played together that often. Nobody's screaming from the rooftops about their fullbacks, about their defensive midfielders. So evenly matched game. I think you're right about the odds are generous. I think Leon is on the money there in terms of I can understand what he's talking about. My just view on this is I think England will go gung ho from the outset, try and get a goal, and if they get one, I think they're on their way. I'm with England tonight. I'm with England at 11-10.
I was listening to TalkSport the other night, John, and they were saying that obviously everybody in the media in England is talking up England's chances. The one caveat they gave was that there's too many Spurs players in this England team. What do you have to say about that slight against your beloved Tottenham?
Davinson Sanchez are the 2 words I'll give in response to that. We had Son scoring that brilliant goal the other day. Nasser Chadli coming on last night and scoring, a former Tottenham player. Paulinho's influence in the tournament. So we're seeing the breadth of Tottenham and the depth throughout the tournament. And Harry Kane, I think, could add to that tonight. So yeah, I can wear that. I've actually got 2 jerseys. I've got the old and the new one, and I'm obviously alternating with the laundry and everything. So I'm wearing these jerseys with pride around Russia at the moment.
So Spursy is the new German, is what I'm hearing there. England to qualify then looks like it's probably going to happen from what I'm hearing here, but it's by no means an absolute guarantee here, and you might be better off staying in the market around goal scorers. I'm liking the sound of that Trippier bet, actually, if you've got a couple of quid.
He's 20-1 to score at any time, Trippier. And look, I think he's been really good from set plays, his dead ball, even when he's going down the wing and whipping a ball in. It's a pity for Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I thought he'd done quite well against Belgium. But Trippier has the short, and rightly so. He's done nothing wrong. But England are 6-5 to win in 90 minutes, 4-7 just to qualify. I don't know. I want to see England. I think this is Southgate's biggest test. He breezed through the qualifiers. They played a couple of friendlies. They played the world heavyweights of Panama and Tunisia, and then he rested the whole side against Belgium. So this is their first real test. I'm looking forward to tonight's game. I think there'll be goals. I think both teams to score at 6-5 is a good bet, but I'm still sticking with Colombia at 11-8 to qualify. Do
you think there's a chance of penalties in this one? It's 8-1, 9-1 for Colombia to win a penalty. So England are favourites, actually, according to Boylesports, if it goes to penalties.
They've been practicing. They've been practicing their penalties, and Gareth Southgate has said that not only are they practicing, they practice the walk-up. That's where the pressure is. So can you imagine at an empty training ground, you're walking up, there's no pressure on you at all. You saw it the other night, the Denmark and Croatia game.
Just crumble.
You've got unbelievable footballers missing penalties. And there's players in that England squad where, honestly, if they're running up to take a penalty, you're thinking, why volunteer?
And history as well, because they'll know what's happened to some of their former international players. And yeah, look, I wouldn't fancy England in any penalty shootout. I wouldn't fancy them against us 3 and 2 of the lads outside in a penalty shootout, because I think they just bottle it. And just looking at goal scorers, Falcao 6-1 to score first, or 9-4 to score at any time. I know we're enhancing Kane to 4-1, which is a great offer to score first for offtheball.com/Boylesports. But I like Falcao. I think world football suits him. It's a little bit slower, and I think the Premier League didn't suit him for whatever reason. I know he had a couple of injuries, but give him a chance. and he's a class finisher.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a big reaction, whatever happens tonight. Sweden against Switzerland, we should just mention, it has nowhere near the glamour of England against Colombia, but it's just as important. Looking at the team news, the big team news that's glaring out at me is the fact that Johan Djuru is probably going to start for Switzerland, which means panic stations if you're a Swiss supporter.
Yeah, I think Liechtensteiner and Schär, I think that's how you pronounce it, they're both missing. So they're 2 out of the first 4 of defenders for Switzerland. They've had no clean sheets in their first 3 games. I'm a little bit leaning towards Sweden, just probably at the prices. Switzerland are favourite at 13-8 and Sweden are 11-5. I think this game, like the other all-European ties in the last 16 that went to penalties, I think this could go all the way. I think this is going to be a very, very closely fought affair. Sweden have beaten France in qualifying. They kept clean sheets against Korea and Mexico. They don't score a lot, but they're a very economical team. They play 4-4-2. They play 2 lads up front who hustle and bustle the back 4 of Switzerland. And I think Sweden at even money to qualify is a better bet than trying to even back Switzerland, even if you fancy them at 13-8. I like Sweden. I think they missed a trick against Germany when they went 1-0 up and then the Germans had a man sent off and they tried to hold on for that draw. Hopefully they'll have learned from that. And I think Sweden will fancy their chances against Switzerland. And of course, we are still doing the matched €50 bet for new customers. Place 50 and get up to €50 match. So I fancy Sweden. I don't know what you think, Phil, but I think they've got a system and a formula that seems to work for them. Shaqiri is lucky to be playing here. He could have got banned. But the 4 Switzerland forwards have only combined for 1 goal so far. So they don't have a lot of goals up front. They're relying upon Shaqiri to be the main man.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Sweden, like their 2 strikers have been, like they're non-events in front of goal as well. But I think what I'm enjoying about Sweden is they're doing it all without Zlatan. The only impact he has made on this World Cup is those horrific credit card ads. And you know, after they scraped a win in their first game, he kind of talked about, they need me. Well, I'm delighted that they're doing it without him. They're very solid. They've no. We forgot to mention Sebastian Larsson is suspended for Sweden, but you would worry about Schär and Lichtsteiner missing for Switzerland because they both play on the right hand side of that defence. So that is certainly a bit of concern there. Pretty silly from Lichtsteiner. He's the captain. To get suspended, but he is that kind of player, which we're going to see at Arsenal next season. That he does get involved in some silly things. But I actually have Switzerland in the office sweepstake, and we kind of did the draw where you got a seeded team and unseeded, and they were my seeded team because they're 6th in the world. They don't lose games.
No, they don't lose too many.
But this has penalties written all over it, I think. I know John was unfortunately present to see Switzerland play Ukraine at the World Cup in 2006. One of the worst games you'll ever see at a World Cup. I think today's, I don't know if it'll quite match it, but it's going to be so tight. Now, this World Cup has surprised us with some of the quality that we've got, but I can't see this one being a goal fest.
Yeah, I'm going to fire the charity bet on Sweden to qualify, that even money bet, because I'm in a bad run. I need to stop the rot at this point and try and get some sort of winnings into the bank this evening. John, a quick word on this one. I think you're eyeing up Emil Forsberg tonight.
Yeah, I was looking at his. I think he's their best player, Sweden, Leipzig player, the winger Forsberg. I think he's 4-1 to score any time. I'd love to see Peru and Morocco still in the tournament, and I'm seeing Sweden against Switzerland. It is really an entree. It's the pate, lads. It's not the caviar or the smoked salmon before the steak. It's only pate and bread before your main course of England, Colombia. That's all it is. But look, it is a World Cup game. I think. What are the odds, Leon, on penalties to go to penalty shootout?
Yeah, well, both teams are 8-1, John, to win on penalties. So, I mean, if you fancy penalties, you're better off just backing both sides to win on pens. 8-1. You'll get a 7-1 winner.
I'm interested in Josip Drmic. Scored against Costa Rica. Scored 4 goals late on in the season for Borussia Mönchengladbach after doing his cruciate. They've had struggles up front with Seferovic and Gavranovic not firing. I'm just slightly with Switzerland. I think Sweden are a team that obviously want you to have the ball. They're happy to sit back and go on the counter. I love Grankvist. I think he's brilliant. He's a man mountain in defence. They're a team that as we've said so often about teams as World Cup that are greater than the individual. But I just think that little bit of quality, Shaqiri and Xhaka, Dennis Zakaria if he plays, Berhami, although he's more of a functional player. But I just think Switzerland have a little bit more on the ball. They've lost once in 25 games. They're very well set up by their manager, Pekovic, and I think at 13-8, maybe a narrow Switzerland win for me. But I wouldn't rule out, as what Leon is saying, back in both ways, 8-1, because it does have a 1-1 draw and penalties written all over it, like Croatia, Denmark.
All right, John, enjoy the Spartak Stadium tonight and enjoy England cruising through to the quarterfinals.
Football's coming home, lads.
It certainly is. Thanks a million. John Duggan there, live from his apartment in the centre of Moscow. Leon, just before we let you go, just a quick word on last night and a quick word on the tournament as a whole. It's just, as we said at the start, just gets better and better and better. And who knows what the hell might happen tonight. We might even get an entertaining spectacle between Switzerland and Sweden.
Yeah, look, you never know. I was amazed with Japan last night. I thought Belgium would easily account for them. So naive, Japan. I mean, taking a corner like that, and even like the guy who was in the D running as if he was going to get it at the back post and the ball was going nowhere near the back post. But maybe, just maybe, Belgium, will they come of age because of that comeback? Probably not. But I'm intrigued to watch Belgium play Brazil.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to go in there thinking we were nearly out of this World Cup. I want a side to go and attack Brazil. I want a team to really have a go at Brazil, and let's see what they really are made of. It seems that everyone is almost, before they go out on the pitch, they're afraid of Brazil. So let's just sit back and let's hope we can keep it tight and we might get one chance. Have a go. And I think this Belgium team, after last night, they might just have a go because they've nothing else to lose. Brazil, they got the job done against Mexico. Mexico always lose in the last 16, so no surprise there. But it's I think the two quarterfinals and the top half of the draw, they're very, very intriguing. So I'm looking forward to Friday to watching them and seeing how they go.
Yeah, I think France-Argentina needs to watch its back for a game of the tournament. That Belgium versus Brazil game could be an absolute corker this weekend. Leon Blanche of Boylesports, thanks a million. And just a reminder, Kane to score first is at an enhanced price of 4-1 for tonight for offtheball.com/Boylesports. That's where you can go to get it for new and existing Boylesports customers. For new Boylesports customers, you can go on to offtheball.com/Boylesports. There's a matched bet of up to €50. Right, Ciaran Bradley, our resident Englishman, is going to be in studio in just a moment to take us there. Here's more from Tim Vickery on the show last night, talking about the future of Lionel Messi in an Argentina jersey.
Well, I think it's striking that he hasn't spoken, because when he retired from international football, which he did for about a month 2 years ago, he did it in the car park after the game.
Okay.
Heat of the moment.
Yeah.
No heat of the moment this time. Let's have a little think. Remember, Argentina don't have a competitive game for another year. There's for a Copa America. So I think there's every possibility that he'll take a break. Whether that break proves to be definitive, I think we'll have to wait and see. But for the time being, I think his priority is going to be Barcelona. And why would you want to do it? Why would you want to travel all that distance? Now, the Argentine FA will be desperate to keep him, because they've got a year coming up of friendlies. And they charge money for these friendlies, and it's one price with Messi on the pitch and one price without him. So he'll come under pressure to stay. But I think he's as all the Argentine players, I don't think they're particularly happy with their FA anyway. Remember that they didn't go to Israel; they put their feet down and didn't go to Israel for a game, a World Cup warm-up. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some kind of standoff while Messi decides if his absence from international football will be definitive or not.
Yeah, Tim Vickery of the BBC chatting to Joe about Lionel Messi on last night's Off the Ball. Ciaran Bradley, our resident Englishman, joins us in studio. Are you nervous?
Really nervous now, actually. Yeah. No, it's got a certain sort of buzz to it. This kind of feeling like the England can only do this to it. It's horrible. It's is it dread? Disgusting. It is dread. It's a touch of dread. Like, I'd say if I could compartmentalise it, it'd be like 65% dread, 5% excitement, and then whatever the rest of it is just fear, abject fear. So I lost count of my numbers there. They were all good, but yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it in some respect, but almost like as a spectacle rather than something that I feel we can get something from.
What's your least favourite World Cup memory from an English perspective?
Oh Christ, where to start?
Had the David Beckham mullet that says actually up on the screen. What does that mean?
I definitely did not have that, unfortunately. I wouldn't really see that one. In terms of World Cup memory, I think 1998 was particularly golden, just because it was you know, you had the from going from one to the other with the Eoin goal to the Beckham sending off and then the penalties, and Kevin Keegan's commentary of, do you remember when he's like, you know, quickly Kevin, will they score? It's like, yes. And he's like, no, obviously not. Batty completely fluffs it. So that was a hard one. But Euro 96 was probably the biggest heartbreak for me. I thought that was, I used to hate the current England manager with quite a passion for a 10-year-old, but there we go.
Yeah, well,
Thankfully I've shaken off.
I think the national sort of standing and Gareth Southgate has shifted no matter what. Well, I was going to say no matter what happens tonight. Maybe one more win and he's kind of cemented himself as a guy that everybody likes and respects. We did mention David Beckham's mullet there. It's not the biggest hair story you want to talk about today, because we do want to remind you of the hype surrounding the 2002 World Cup. And take a look at this video, which is just incredible. I'll just let the video do the talking.
One 10-year-old boy has taken his love of
Here is a school playground. And what is that hairstyle in the middle? What could that be? Oh, it's Sven-Goran Eriksson.
Svenigans. Yeah, it was beautiful seeing that this morning, and I loved the glasses as well. Like, I don't know whether he actually wears glasses or whether they've just sort of completed the prop.
Fair play to the parents as well for sending them in like that.
Well, the thing is that with that, it's like, who drove it? Was it the parents or was it the kid being like, right, well, you know, I've started, so I'll finish. But I don't, you know, you never know.
If it goes to penalties tonight, we've seen from the Daily Mail what the penalty lineup is going to be, or so we suspect. It's going to be Harry Kane, Kieran Trippier, Jesse Lingard, Jordan Henderson and Ashley Young. No real surprises there.
Oh. Jordan Henderson.
Henderson? No?
No, I remember
you can see him on screen there.
A few years ago, I remember Liverpool were playing a European match and Henderson grabbed the ball. Mario Balotelli, so lethal from penalties actually, took the ball off him and just put the ball on the back of the net. And I just thought, yeah, that was a better option letting Balotelli hit it than Jordan Henderson.
You're in a bad way when Balotelli's the more safe option.
Well, Balotelli, in fairness, though, he is a great penalty taker. Rarely misses. We didn't talk about it there, but I think Pickford would actually be pretty good in penalties, especially the way they're not really marshalling the infringements, encroachments from the goalkeepers. So he I can see he's one of those keepers, though. He jumps off his line. You could definitely, if Pirlo was playing against him, he'd just dink it down the middle. He's one of those busy keepers. He wants to make the big save.
Yeah, like, would you constitute Subasic and Schmeichel as being busy keepers last day? I felt that they saved a lot with their legs in the penalty shootout. I know they were terrible penalties, but
Kasper Schmeichel seemed like he was everywhere on the pitch. I just, to be perfectly honest, I really disliked that shootout. I thought it was ridiculous. Like, it's come to the point now where what is the assistant line? You know, the assistant ref, I should say, for? I mean, it's fine. Like, if you the momentum's going to bring you forward.
It seems that it was a directive because they're spotting everything, and I think they're just saying let them go. So you think that'll benefit Pickford? Yeah,
I'm just thinking as well. Harry Kane is obviously going to take a penalty. Does he go first or does he do the Ronaldo? And
first, I think this England team puts their top load.
And that's the thing as well. The whole psychology of a penalty shootout. Imagine Harry Kane goes up and misses.
Yeah, I know. The order's always been a bit of a tricky one for me.
Yeah, and some of those players might not actually be on the pitch by the time it comes along. I always kind of thought Harry Maguire strikes me as someone who would stroll up and absolutely leather one into the top corner.
Yeah. Oh, it'd end up in the Ukraine. It'd be ridiculous. The thing is, you know, for all what I was saying about the keeper staying on their line, if Pickford ends up, you know, on the halfway line, by the end of it, I'll be happy enough if he saves it. So it's weird. I actually have a strange sense of vague confidence about penalties. Not about the game necessarily at large, but like I just kind of feel like they're a little bit less weighed down with the usual nonsense of history.
Yeah,
and maybe a part of that's actually come from Southgate, just being like, lads, that was me. That's my burden, you know.
Yeah, maybe. Like, just looking back at a couple of the penalty shootouts earlier on today, I think just because obviously got eliminated in 90 and in 98 and 2006, I think there's just a lack of appreciation for some of the great penalties England have scored in these World Cups. Like the Alan Shearer's penalty and Michael Owen's penalties in the 1998 World Cup penalty shootout against Argentina were two of the great penalty shootout penalties I have ever seen, and they get completely lost in the transit of time, as they should, because they were essentially pointless in the end.
Yeah.
And all you remember is the missed ones. Like, I'm not sure what your view is on the worst missed penalty. Is it Chris Waddle?
Oh God, well, see, Waddle was a little bit outside of my kind of wheelhouse in terms of age, so I'd have been a bit too young for that. But I think Southgate for me, just because of what I know. It's not World Cup, but just because of what it meant. I mean, that really was when it felt like football was coming home.
Yeah.
You know,
That's when it started.
That's the bingo card saying. But yeah, that was the worst for me. I just thought that was so bad.
Shearer always hit a good penalty.
Shearer was a pervert. For a penalty.
I remember Owen's one went in off the post, didn't it?
In the shootout?
Yeah, just kind of just grazed in off the post, because I think I remember him doing that celebration where he was almost just suggesting that was tight. Like,
it was one of those where it goes straight into the roof of the net. Like it's just absolutely class, a perfect trajectory. And quite often when they talk about the perfect height for the keeper, it's like, well, if the keeper wasn't there, it would have looked like the perfect penalty. It would have hit a high point at the back of the net.
See, what I'd like with Eoin is just Neville Southall just on the side being like, well done, he's Argentinian. That would be a good little send off for that one, but fair enough.
If the other game goes to penalties, I can't wait to see Granqvist's penalty for Sweden. That guy can hit a penalty.
Oh, you can wallop one. Jeez, his penalties. How many has he taken? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, like both of them have been class. I was going to say I've only seen 2. Just speaking of Harry Kane, speaking of patriotism, there was this picture that came to our attention today. Harry Kane draped in an England flag. He's probably the only person we've seen, certainly the only captain of a World Cup competing team that's actually draped themselves in an England flag. Is that something you would consider after this evening, Ciaran, if they win?
Yeah. Well, it would interfere with the George's Cross tattoo that I have all over my back, so I'm not sure about that. Look how much fun he's having there. Like, you would love to just stand there roaring like a little lion.
Can you imagine the photographer?
Fun,
right, Harry, scream as if England have just won the World Cup.
That was probably when they did the BBC video at the same time as well.
If they do win the World Cup, we'll all look like mugs on the BBC. We'll say, we saw this coming.
Well, speaking of that, this is a stat just to leave you on. I'm sure it's kind of well known that ITV have a lot worse of a record than BBC, but I didn't realise it was this stark. England have a win ratio of 17% in World Cups when shown on ITV, 60%, 6-0 when shown on the BBC. Tonight's game is on ITV.
Oh, listen, not for me, Clive.
It's a tournament for bucking these trends, and I'm all over it. We're going to, but yeah, it's going to be. It's really. I'm properly nervous now. Like,
you want to give us
genuinely shout?
Do you want to give us a lion's roar before we log off for the afternoon?
Absolutely not. Not even for the viewers. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for that.
Anything else? Anything else before we wrap up? Final thoughts on tonight? Scoreline prediction.
I think it's going to finish 1-1, and it's going to go to extra time. And it's going to go to penalties, and I just think it could be heartache for England in penalties.
See, my prediction was annoyingly similar, so I'm going to have to change it so that I look slightly different now. But I'm going to say 2-1 England late on.
Right, okay.
Kane from a set piece, Ospina messing up.
I've just been told in my ear we're not going to go off air until you do your lion roar. So maybe when I sign off here, we're just going to stay on air for the entire afternoon. You've got one last chance if you want to. Oh, he did it. He actually did it. It's amazing. It's a summer miracle. It's an English miracle. England and football is coming home. They are going to beat Colombia tonight. You've heard it here first. We'll chat to you tomorrow afternoon on World Cup Daily. World Cup Daily is not World Cup Daily because there is no World Cup tomorrow. We're back on Friday afternoon from the earlier time of 12 o'clock before the hurling show. Off the Ball is live on the radio and on social channels from 7 o'clock this evening with Joe and the lads. We'll chat to you then. Bye bye for now.